Do you think child marriage, like a 50-something-year-old guy marrying a 6-year-old child, is good for humanity?
The way I learned about this is, I'll say something personal. My grandmother, my mother, and me, we were all molested. So this was a very dark topic to discuss. The way I look at it is, I would never allow my daughter to marry anyone older like that. The parents will decide what happens to their child. It's not compulsory for you to allow that. And if it's the end of the world and there's no other way for humanity to go forward and my child is there, maybe that'd be the only situation where I as a parent would allow that.
Okay, I'm very sorry. I'm sorry for what you
And
experienced.
I know you're gonna say, like, okay, but the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, did that. We're not allowed to criticize him in that way. Who knows why Allah allowed it? And I've heard all kinds of arguments. I read a book on her. She was, pretty wise lady, pretty cool. But for me and my daughter, I would never, if anyone even asked, they would be executed by me. No one can touch my daughter. No one can ask for my daughter.
You went through something that is bad, and I feel very sorry about it. And you want to protect your daughter, your child, from going through something similar. And you are talking about preventing evil in the world. But at the same time, you are advocating for a system in which parents are allowed to give off their children without age restrictions to older men in marriage. So you are advocating for a system and allowing for a system in which parents are allowed to give their children away in a situation where they would be abused in such a way that you yourself cannot stomach it, and you wouldn't allow it for your own children. In Farid's words, it's not rape when the parents allow it. Because
But
there's
remember,
parental consent.
atheism as a whole doesn't disavow that either, or liberalism for
It
that
doesn't have
matter.
to be. Atheism doesn't have any rules. But the issue is, with atheism, for example, I can sit down here and I can find my way and weigh the pros and cons and see what is healthy and what is unhealthy and all that. The issue is, we're not talking about something that does not forbid something. We're talking about something that explicitly allows that certain thing. You are not allowed to make this illegal or to condemn this because your religion allows it and your Prophet Muhammad practiced it, which is why people like Daniel Hikichu today say this is a wholesome value.
What I've learned about it from anthropologists is that it was a different time period, and if you're not too many people around, you're poor, resources are low, you have this option, but it's not forced upon you. You don't have to if you don't want to allow it.
But you think we should prevent evil, but at the same time you are, as said, advocating for a system in which this cannot be disallowed. It is allowed. It is practiced. Parents can make that. You may not want to do this to your own child because you think it is disgusting and horrible, but your neighbor who is a Muslim might allow their 5-year-old daughter to get married to some 50-year-old guy.
Even in America, if my neighbor does something, I cannot prevent them. I can't prevent anyone else from doing anything, regardless of their religion. If a Jewish rabbi wants to do that weird circumcision ritual that they do, where they suck off the foreskin of the baby, I can't stop the rabbi from doing that or the Jewish family from doing that to their newborn boy. All I can do is say, this is my daughter. I have full authority over her. She will get married when she's mentally capable. She's had her period.
This is a big double standard. If you live in a society where child marriage is illegal, where it is banned, but if Islam was brought to that society, then Islam would lift that ban and would make it possible for little children to be married to old guys with the permission of their parents. This is something that Islam would bring. So Islam would actually bring something destructive that even makes you feel very uncomfortable. Are you aware of that?
I am aware of that, and I'm also aware that, like, even, the French kings, they married 14-year-olds, 12-year-olds. The age was very young previously because people died much sooner.
Of course, and they make mistakes. They were wrong.
Yeah.
We don't have to deflect to other things and say, well, they did it too. So
No, I know what you're saying, that they did it too.
We acknowledge that it's bad.
But the point is that each mother can just say no, and I don't have to advocate them and help them. I don't have to facilitate their child marriage, is my point.
Okay, but you're supporting a system in which this is okay.
Well, I love Allah. That's what I care about. I love Allah and I'm not a champion of child marriage. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
That is not consistent with your entire idea, which you have advocated for from the beginning, which is that Islam brings a system which gets rid of the evil. Because Islam, in this case, brings the evil that you are talking about. The issue is whether they have to or don't have to is completely besides the point. You know, I don't care if people have to do this or don't have to do this. The issue is that Islam provides a system in which this is allowed. If we look at child marriage, if we look at a relationship between a little child and an old man, the research on this is abundant. It is harmful to a little child. It is psychologically harmful. It is physically harmful. It harms the sexual, the reproductive system of a child. It is harmful in so many different ways. It is destructive. A child is not ready until a very late age to handle such a thing. But you would advocate for a system in which this is allowed. So the system that you are bringing would be harmful, really harmful, objectively harmful in this case, to the child, to the individual. Now imagine this, you advocate for Islam, Islam comes to your place, to your neighborhood, Islam is implemented, and around you are two families. They both have little children, little daughters, and you really like those little daughters, those little children, and those people, those neighbors decide that it is their right to marry those little children to 60-year-old men, and they are allowed to do that. How would you feel about that?
Well, I would talk to the mother and say, well, why can't you just wait? What's the hurry? What's going on here? Do you need
Okay,
money? I'll give you the
what if she
money.
doesn't listen to you?
Well, a mother has authority over her kid. I cannot like it, right? Like, so there's nothing much I can do besides say, hey, why don't you just wait? But child marriage, occultists do that, Satanists do that. There's weirdo Christians in the Alabama who do weird things. It's part of the human condition anthropologically, and the best we can do is just not allow our daughters to go into it because they're not going to be the wife of a prophet.
Okay, here's the thing. You told me earlier that you want to force people to not do these evil, horrible things that you abhor. And you said we need force. Force is absolutely necessary. So you want to force people to not do certain things, to not do certain things to others, not do certain things to themselves. You absolutely abhor child marriage, but in this case, you don't want to force people not to do child marriage because you think, well, if they want to do this evil, if they want to do something destructive and abusive to a little child, there's nothing we can do. It's just, they will just do it anyway. So do you
I
now
would try
believe
to
in
adopt
forcing
the
people or do you
child.
not?
Well, the hard part is that you're not allowed. Some people want to hurt you if you criticize that in any way. The thing is that I say, okay, if Allah decreed for this specific example of the Prophet to have this wife, I'll find out what's the truth when I die. But that doesn't mean I need to facilitate, aid, clap my hands for anyone who does it in this reality. Because it doesn't say I have to do that. So I can advise mothers, why don't you just wait? What if I adopt your child? What if, I give you money, then you can have food, you don't have to sell your daughter. I'm very into protecting children. So she had a specific role that Allah decreed for her, and that was her destiny. But that doesn't then mean that I have to have my kids go over and do that. I don't know how else better to answer it. Like some Muslims, they go very gung-ho, and they're like, yes, we'll allow it. Like I know Ali Dawa, as you mentioned. I saw that video. I have a different route, and I wouldn't allow that. And the Prophet was decreed by Allah to have that. Now, you can't criticize anything the Prophet did, but that doesn't mean you have to push for and advocate for it.
Do you think what Muhammad did was evil?
I think it had to be. I don't know what to think about it. I think I can't say it's evil because then you're saying that the Prophet did something evil and then you're out of the fold of Islam.
But do you
I
think
would
it is
say
evil
that
to marry a little child?
I would wonder why Abu Bakr did that. You'd have to ask the father. That's why you say wait till we die. I read a book about her. She was a fantastic lady. She was a hero. She saw so much. She wrote down all these hadiths. So she's like the mother of believers. So she has like this huge respect for her, and you learn to love her, and you're like, I don't look at Aisha just as a child bride.
The issue is people can look back at you and say, look, she was amazing. She studied a lot. She read a lot. She thought a lot, and she gave us all these wonderful ideas. She made people think and all that. That doesn't negate the fact that in the past you were abused. And that doesn't mean that the certain abuse that was inflicted upon you can thereby be simply, dismissed or downplayed. It is evil. It is very hurtful. It is something that you suffered from that still means a lot to you, that still is a pain. upon you which you feel. So you understand what I mean? And even if
Yeah.
she did live a good life, and even if she did contribute to something, that doesn't negate the fact that she may have gone through abuse at a part in her life that she didn't have to go through.
True, right? But I tend not to look at people as victims. I tend to say, that happened to you, Allah decreed it, move forward. Because there's victim culture now that wallow in their past. I try to look beyond it. Okay, that happened to you, but don't let that be you. That
Okay, but that
happened,
doesn't
go
mean that the thing
forward.
that happened is not a bad thing, right?
True, exactly. But maybe Allah has His reasons that are above my head. Like a crab will eat its babies. There's so many weird things in nature where you're like, this planet is pretty weird. This planet is pretty intense. A pig will eat its own baby. Like, you're like, what's going on here? This planet is pretty rough. Test and trial, everyone has their burden. Everyone has their trial. And the best I can do is protect my own.
I'm sorry, Milan. The thing is, I'm stuck on this point, and I pushed you. I think your inability to answer this question properly comes from the fact that you are falling in hypocrisy, having double standards on this issue.
I think you could
With
say that, yeah, that I have a double standard where I would allow the Prophet to do it, but I wouldn't allow my own daughter to do it. Is that your point?
No, I would say you know that this is bad, that this is evil. You yourself do not want to allow such a thing. If a different religion came up with this system, if a different religion or a different society or different individual came up with this whole issue of marrying a little child away, you would be disgusted by. I see your community posts. You are disgusted by certain things. You harshly criticize them, and I see your passion there. But if it was something or somebody else, you would be very harsh toward that. But you are simply letting something that is even so personally traumatic to you slip away because you simply have to give into that and simply have to accept it, and you're not allowed to object to that.
I mean, you got me pigeonholed. There's not. I can't go left. I can't go right. You pretty much have me pigeonholed, and I can't argue any other way out of it, really. But
And
I
I
know,
hope you see that that's not my aim here. I'm not trying to put you down or to whatever it is that people want to do online in discussions. I'm really simply trying to make you see,
you're
as
testing
I
my
see
mind,
it,
which is
that you
good.
are wrong. That you are no. I'm trying to let you see that you are wrong and you are in conflict with yourself. And I would say that you should fix that.